What do you think about that? Hmm? Hmm? You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? Exactly. Were you just listening? Weren't you listening? Seriously. So, I was talking about something, a rather important subject, I guess. And I said, and I explained, it was in English, probably English that any sixth grader could understand, possibly even a 6-year-old. But you didn't understand. So you either weren't listening, and that's common these days because people say, uh, I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. I'm going to be thinking about what I'm going to say in response to what you say, even though I have no idea what you're saying or what you're going to say. I'm just going to think of something really nasty to say to you for saying what you're saying because I don't like what you're saying, even though you haven't got a clue what I'm saying. You follow me? It's sort of like, hey, why don't I just say something stupid and not even try to understand what you say? So, in other words, you don't know what I'm talking about now because you just turned on and started listening to me talking, and it's like I started out talking in the middle of a thought. I mean, it's like the first part of what I was saying wasn't there for you to hear because it's sort of like it was there, kind of. I mean, I just let you say it was there, and you turned it on, the podcast just now, and you just kind of come in the middle of something. You know, it was like you were in a coma, and all of a sudden you woke up. And you're like, but what are you talking about? I didn't hear any. I don't know what you're talking about because I missed that part. You think? Maybe it's because we're paying attention, or maybe because I actually started out, in the middle of something, and I didn't include the important information necessary for you to understand what I'm talking about now, right? So maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is you weren't paying attention, or, or, excuse me, or I didn't give you the information that is necessary for you to understand what I'm talking about. Now, since I didn't give you the information, then you would be correct in saying that, you don't know what I'm talking about because you didn't hear anything about the subject matter or the data, the information that is relevant to what I'm talking about right now. Or maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is what I'm talking about right now is what I'm talking about right now. And whatever I could have said before you started listening or before, I turned on the recorder to record this podcast is irrelevant. Maybe what I'm talking about right now is the subject of this podcast and is the only relevance involving this podcast. You follow me? Yeah, it's not that kind. It's not brain surgery. Or as I like to say, it's not. What's the phrase? It's not brain science. It's not rocket surgery. Anyway, it's not that complicated. So if you listen to this again, start at the beginning and listen again from where I start talking, and you try to figure out where it's going and what it's about and what's important and what's relevant to what I'm talking about and see if it's true. I mean, if it applies to you. Because if you were paying attention when you turned this podcast on and started listening, you would have started where I started talking, and you would follow me from that point on and understand what I'm talking about at that moment. That is to say, for the past 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So, if you're confused, try that. Start over again, but pay attention. All right? So, what I'm saying to you, basically, is that you got to pay attention. You got to be able to understand English, because that's the language I speak. It's basically the only language I understand. I don't know French. I don't know Spanish. It's not, well, I have some ideas about French. I did take French in 7th grade, as I recall. Pretty sure I didn't do well. But I got the gist of it. I can count to at least 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I understand Il report. I understand chaise and crayon. I know that. And the colors. Rouge, noir, etc. So, but I can't hold a conversation in French. And so if you were speaking French to me, I have no idea what you're talking about. I guess if you pantomimed it a bit, I might be able to catch the drift of it. So sometimes if I'm talking to someone, or just talking like on my podcast, which is a monologue, which means I talk and you don't, you would be listening to me talking and saying, what are you talking about? And I know damn well what I'm talking about. I understand it completely because it's English. And if you don't understand English, why are you listening to this channel or this podcast? You see what I'm saying? I mean, if I was speaking Russian and you don't speak Russian and you don't read or understand Russian, why would you listen to it? And it's like, it's Greek to me. If I was speaking Greek, yeah. So there's no reason why you, an English-speaking person, let's say a person that's been in America his whole life, and you're over the age of, 12, and you've heard English, you've spoken English, you've written English, you've gone to English class in grade school and high school and maybe college and so on. And, and if you don't understand what I'm saying in English, there's a serious problem with your education. Maybe you should sue the educational system for not doing their job, like malpractice. Why don't we have that, by the way? How come we can't, sue the public school system like the high school, Marion County High School, for example, and not, sue them for malpractice for giving us a defective, inadequate, disgusting, not very good education. If you go to a doctor and he screws up your health, then sue him. If someone runs into your car and breaks your freaking neck or arm or leg or back or whatever, and they sue them. It's, that's what we do. That's the way it works. It's a good system, by the way. So we got to do away with suing people. Yeah, that's just an idiotic nonsense. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, and I'm speaking English, and you've been raised as English as your first language, and you're, let's say, over 12 or even over 50 or whatever, and you don't know what I'm talking about, you can't figure it out, you can't comprehend what I'm saying, and you can't see. And there is nuance in language. There's slang, but primarily words mean what they mean. So if I say a word, use a word in a sentence, then you should be able to know what I'm saying. And if you don't know, don't jump to conclusions. Look it up in the dictionary. And by the way, dictionary.com might work for most situations, but, it's probably not 100% reliable. Excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. And I didn't bring my drink. So, if you look, just look it up. I mean, there's no shame in that, because obviously if you don't know, like, I think it would be more shameful to say, I don't know what that word means, and I'm just gonna make up some meaning for the word because, I'm an asshole. That's just wrong. So I think, pay attention, listen carefully, learn something from me in my monologue. Or any other thing, like a post I might post on a comment on Facebook. Listen, read, pay attention. If you don't know the words, look them up. And, try to learn from what I'm saying. And yeah, you're a narcissistic bastard. Yeah, I'm a little bit narcissistic in a good way. Because, I am important to me. And I'm important to people that care about me. So, yeah, narcissistic. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. So, this is a short episode, so I'm going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. So, the point is, if you don't understand what I'm saying, don't be expressing your opinion about it. I mean, just keep it shut, because you're just going to make a fool of yourself. Yeah, I've got an opinion. I have a right to my opinion. Yeah, well, if you don't, if you're talking to me and you don't know what you're talking about, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll just make up some kind of comment just to be argumentative, and then you're just being an asshole. And I don't have time for assholes. All right? Just stop it. I mean, I'm an asshole enough for both of us. All right, so just dwell on that, and I could talk some more about it, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. I would hope, don't make assumptions, don't jump to conclusions, and try not to let your emotions, your hysteria, control your brain. Think logically. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good deal. It's awesome. And if you think, I'm going to be thinking logically here, I'm going to come to a logical conclusion, and you know what? That's awesome. And if you can do that, and you can't do that, you haven't done that, and you learn how to do that, you've gained something. You've become a better human being. And more educated, more enlightened, more aware of reality, truth, sanity, logic. So, you should try for that. Am I lecturing you? Yeah. It's kind of my job. That's kind of like what a monologue is. All right. So if it was having a conversation, a little bit different, but still the same principle. Pay attention to what I'm saying when we're talking together, you and I. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't make presumptions. And try to understand the English. Because what I said is true, mostly. And in most cases. And there's no argument. I mean, you want to have a discussion, it's like a debate. And a debate is like, there are rules. And if you don't want to follow the rules of debate, then, we're not doing that. If you want to argue, then, fuck off. I don't have time for that shit. So, okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to post this on all the various places where my podcast is broadcast. YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, I think it's on iTunes, Podchaser, etc., etc., etc. And do me a favor. Share my podcast with your friends and acquaintances. It would be good for them, and I don't think they would regret it unless they're, like I said, assholes and want to argue. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. D. McClung, Arthur Monologues.